And what if I told you that the universe isn't a distant, silent expanse, but rather a living, conscious presence that listens to every thought, every emotion, every intention you emit? Most people spend their lives asking, pleading, and waiting for signs, yet hardly anyone learns how to truly communicate with the universe. Many treat it as something external, separate, as if it were a force detached from themselves. But the truth is different. The universe responds not to your words, but to the vibration with which you live. When you learn to align with it, with presence, intention, and faith, something extraordinary happens. Doors that once seemed closed swing open. What once felt like scarcity transforms into opportunity. What once weighed you down becomes lightness. Before moving on, leave a comment saying, "I trust and the universe is already responding." Bidi. This isn't just a symbolic gesture, it's an invitation to activate a new vibration from this very moment. Jacobo Grinberg was one of the few scientists who dared to cross the boundaries between the visible and the invisible, between the world of matter and the field of consciousness. While many mind researchers confine themselves to observing electrical impulses in the brain, Grinberg delved into spiritual traditions, studied Mexican shamans, and developed a bold theory. The reality we live in is a projection of our mental field, a hologram shaped by our consciousness. According to him, the universe isn't an external entity watching us from afar, but a living intelligence that responds to the frequency of our inner vibration. This means that everything we experience, including our obstacles, our achievements, our pain, and our miracles, is intimately connected to the way we energetically communicate with this greater consciousness. This perspective echoes the world's oldest spiritual teachings and aligns with the principles of faith. God created us with the power to co-create with Him. In this context, faith isn't just about belief, it's about tuning into the source, acknowledging that a greater purpose is guiding everything and taking responsibility for aligning with that force to live fully. The universe doesn't speak Portuguese, English, or any other human language. Its language is more subtle, quieter, and infinitely more precise. It is the language of vibration. Every thought you have, every feeling you nurture, every intention you hold emits a specific frequency. And that is precisely what the universe hears. What many call destiny or coincidence are, in fact, responses organized by this cosmic intelligence according to the energetic pattern you're emitting at that moment. When you understand that the universe functions as a living, intelligent field of consciousness, you begin to see that everything you attract into your life, whether light or shadow, is in perfect harmony with what you're vibrating. It isn't a matter of punishment or reward. It's about energetic coherence. You don't receive what you want, you receive what you are, what you emanate. If your inner field is charged with fear, insecurity, guilt, or distrust, the universe will return experiences that confirm exactly that. But if you vibrate confidence, gratitude, presence, and faith, reality will shape itself to reflect that structure. Grinberg referred to this field of reality as the neuronal field, a vibrational matrix that projects what we call the external world. Within this matrix, what counts isn't what you say, but who you are. Words do have power, yes, but only when they are aligned with the authentic vibration of the heart. There's no use in repeating positive affirmations if your heart still beats with doubt. The true vibration always overpowers mere verbal appearances. Thus, learning to communicate with the universe requires an emotional and energetic re-education. It demands presence. When you cultivate inner silence, you realize there is a constant field of communication between you and creation. It is in this space of stillness that the universal language begins to make sense. And the most curious part is that there isn't a literal translation, there is tuning in. It isn't something understood by the rational mind, but something felt by the soul. Every time you breathe consciously, align with the present moment, look at the sky with humility and say, "I trust," you send a clear signal to the universe. That signal doesn't need words. It carries a frequency that activates responses. It might come as inspiration, intuition, or as a door opening where there once was a wall. And when you start noticing these responses, you realize you were never speaking alone. You are already in dialogue with the universe. The question is, what are you saying with your energy? For too long, we were conditioned to believe that we are separate from the universe, as if it were something distant, external, impersonal. This is one of the greatest misconceptions that hinders true spiritual transformation. The root of human pain lies in this illusion of separation, the belief that we are mere isolated bodies wandering through a random world, at the mercy of uncontrollable forces. But when this illusion is shattered, everything changes. You discover that you were never alone and that your very essence is made of the same substance as the cosmos. Jacobo Grinberg devoted his life to proving that what we call reality isn't a solid, unchanging structure, but a mental projection that arises from the interaction between our field of consciousness and a unified energy field, a vibrational mesh where everything is connected. According to his syntropic theory, there is no outside separate from the inside. The universe is a sensitive, interactive mirror, and what you perceive as external reality is merely a reflection of your own consciousness. This vision resonates with ancient spiritual teachings, which have always affirmed you are a spark of the divine. God is not found only in temples or sacred scriptures. He pulses within you, in every cell, in every breath. When Christ said, "I and the Father are one," he wasn't referring only to himself, but to the nature of all creation. We are temporary manifestations of eternal energy. The same force that creates galaxies silently dwells within your heart. But why do we forget this? Because the material world, with its distractions and fears, disconnected us from this essential truth. We were trained to look for answers outside, to fear the unknown, to doubt our own light. Our conditioned mind built walls where bridges should have been, and so we began to live in fragmentation, trying to solve external problems without realizing that the root lies in our own disconnection. Dismantling this illusion takes courage. It's a process of returning to the center, of remembering who you truly are, and this doesn't happen through the intellect, but through presence. When you meditate, pray, contemplate nature, or simply embrace silence, you begin to feel something greater enveloping you, a field of unity, a love that asks for nothing in return. It is at this point that separation dissolves, and you begin to act not as someone pleading with the universe, but as someone remembering that they are a part of it. From that state of unity, your communication with the universe transforms. There is no longer any need to beg, force, or control. There is only a serene and powerful surrender, where your vibration aligns with creation and everything starts to flow more clearly. You cease to be a victim of the world and become a co-creator of your reality in communion with the all. Knowing that you are in constant communication with the universe is transformative, but knowing how to communicate clearly is what truly begins to change your reality. Reprogramming your mind for this spiritual dialogue requires inner discipline and conscious choices. It isn't about magic formulas, but about subtle, consistent practices that fine-tune your vibration until it resonates with what you wish to manifest, and above all, with who you want to become. The first step is silence. We live in a world saturated with noise, both external and internal. The ego shouts, the mind races, fears whisper doubts all the time. But the language of the universe isn't noisy. It reveals itself in silence. Setting aside a few minutes each day for deep silence is like opening a direct line to the source. In that empty space, consciousness expands and the mind begins to release old patterns, Start with just a few minutes with no expectations. Just breathe and be present. Gradually, you'll notice that this space is fertile. Ideas sprout, intuitions emerge, and peace settles in. Next comes intention. True intention isn't a superficial desire. It's the vibration born from aligning with what is good, just, and elevated. When you set an intention, be it a word, a thought, or an action, you are shaping the energetic field around you. But that intention must come from a pure place, free of haste, doubt, or fear. It's like a seed planted with faith rather than anxiety. Before making any request, internally declare, "May it be done according to divine wisdom." This takes the weight off control and activates trust. Finally, there is conscious visualization. Many believe that visualizing is simply imagining vividly. But true visualization is a fusion of imagery, emotion, and presence. It is feeling as if you are already living what you desire. If you want peace, see yourself in a serene environment. Breathe like someone at ease. Feel the relief in your body. If you desire prosperity, imagine acting with assurance, making wise decisions, feeling grateful. The mind makes no distinction between the real and the imagined when emotion is involved, and that is what reprograms it. These three techniques, silence, intention, and visualization, form a sacred triangle. Silence prepares the ground, intention plants the seed, and visualization nurtures it. When practiced with faith and consistency, your mind stops being an automatic reproducer of fears and becomes a spiritual transmitter. And the universe responds precisely, not because you're trying to control the external, but because you have learned to govern your internal. True communication with the universe begins when you quiet your mind to listen, feel, to create, and trust to allow. Faith isn't merely passive belief. It is a vibrational state that completely alters the field around you. Having faith in God, in the universe, in life, is a higher form of spiritual communication. More than words or rituals, it is a silent vibration that says, "I trust." And when that trust is genuine, deep, and felt from within, the universe responds with fluidity and clarity. Because faith removes the noise of fear, and where fear ceases, manifestation begins. Many believe that faith is a feeling reserved for extreme moments, but in truth, it should be a daily foundation. Faith isn't the absence of challenges, it is the certainty that there is a greater meaning behind everything. When you nurture true faith, your energy elevates to a level where obstacles cease to be barriers and instead become tools for refinement. Life stops seeming unjust and becomes a path of revelation. Grinberg spoke of the neuronal field as a living fabric that responds to our perception. In this context, faith is like a secret key that unlocks new possibilities within this field. When you believe, your field expands, your vision changes, and your mind stops searching for what is missing, beginning instead to see what is emerging. Faith in God connects you to a loving, perfect intelligence, the one that knows what you need even before you ask. But a word of caution. We're not talking about blind faith that expects miracles without action, nor about an illusory faith that denies reality. We speak of a conscious, mature, and vibrant faith, one that is built in daily presence, in the silence of the soul, in true surrender. This faith demands no proof. It simply acknowledges that a greater plan is unfolding, and that very acknowledgement is a higher form of prayer. When you combine intention with faith, something powerful happens. You let go of control, and that is the hardest and most liberating part. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on your dreams, but trusting that they will be guided more wisely than the ego could manage. It means saying, "Lord, I surrender, lead me." And this surrender is not weakness, it is spiritual strength. Trusting in God opens doors that effort alone cannot. It dissolves invisible blockages. It moves energies that the eyes cannot see. And when that trust becomes a constant state, the entire universe starts cooperating with you, as if it were merely waiting for you to stop resisting. Because faith doesn't force the universe to give you something. It simply aligns you with what was always rightfully yours by divine right. The universe is always communicating, but it doesn't shout, force, or intrude. It whispers. It speaks through symbols, intuitions, and subtle movements, and these signals are what we call synchronicities. When you learn to listen with your heart, not just your ears, you begin to see that nothing happens by chance. Coincidences stop seeming random and become recognized as messages from a higher intelligence guiding your steps. Synchronicities are more than chance encounters or curious repetitions. They are vibrational responses. When you emit a clear intention with faith and coherence, the universe begins to rearrange the events around you to reflect that vibration. A book that appears out of nowhere, an unexpected conversation, a phrase that seems spoken just for you. These are all manifestations of this silent communication. Yet, to notice these signs, you must stop living on autopilot. Spiritual listening only activates when you are present. When your mind is racing, full of doubts, judgments, and distractions, the signals go unnoticed. It's like trying to hear a gentle melody amid a noisy crowd. That's why practices such as meditation, prayer, and contemplation are so important. They tune your frequency to capture what would normally go unheard. Grinberg said that the field of reality responds to the way you perceive the world. If you believe that everything is disconnected, you will experience a chaotic reality. But if you understand that everything is interlinked, you begin to live in what he called the syntropic network, where everything has a purpose, where every event is a perfectly fitting piece in a greater plan. In this heightened state of perception, you begin to see signs not as absolute guarantees, but as energetic confirmations. A path that suddenly opens, an obstacle that disappears, an idea that arrives with clarity. These are ways the universe responds, saying, "You're on the right track." And the more you express gratitude for these signs, the more frequent they become. There are also moments when silence prevails, and it is at those times that many feel lost, thinking they are not being guided. Yet, silence is also a response. Sometimes God silences us not to punish us, but to teach us to trust beyond logic. Silence is the space where faith is refined and where the deepest signals are revealed, not as words, but as inner certainty. Learning to listen to the universe is, at its core, learning to listen to yourself. For divine communication begins when the soul quiets. And in that sacred space you realize you were never alone. You have always been guided. The universe doesn't respond to what you wish for, it responds to what you are. And that is one of the most powerful and often overlooked truths of spiritual life. For the universe to recognize you as someone ready to receive, you must first recognize yourself as such. This means letting go of an old vibrational identity marked by scarcity, fear, and doubt, and embracing a new presence, one that is aligned with the flow of creation. This new identity isn't a role to be played. It is a frequency to be lived. It is built in silence, through daily choices, through redirected thoughts, through mindful words. It is the process of becoming someone whose energetic field radiates clarity, strength, peace, and trust. And when that happens, the universe has no choice but to respond with the same vibration. The human mind tends to cling to its old identity. Even when we desire change, something within insists on staying in the familiar. That's just who I am. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm anxious, I'm insecure. Each of these statements is an energetic seal that the universe takes very seriously. Because the universe makes no distinction between what is merely desired and what is deeply believed. It mirrors back what you hold as truth. For transformation to occur, you must rebuild your spiritual self-image. Begin by observing how you speak about yourself. how you react to situations, and what kind of thoughts you entertain when you wake and when you sleep. Every small gesture shapes your vibration. The new identity that the universe recognizes isn't perfect, but it is conscious. It knows it's constantly being refined, yet it no longer hides behind excuses. The daily practice of emotional visualization is one of the most powerful tools for this transition. Imagine yourself as someone who already lives in peace, abundance, faith, and lightness. Not as a distant dream, but as an inner reality that is already yours, waiting to be activated. Visualize yourself making wise decisions, smiling confidently, walking with gratitude. Feel what it would be like if that were your essence, because in truth it already is. It just needs to be awakened. Above all, involve God in this process. Ask for clarity, discernment, and strength to sustain this new identity. When you say, "Father, guide me to be who I was created to be," you are allowing the source to work through you. And it is at that moment that the ego gives way, and your true spiritual self emerges. Becoming someone recognized by the universe isn't about achieving more. It's about remembering who you are. It's about tuning in to the truth that has always resided within you, that you are an active part of creation. And when you vibrate that truth, everything around you reorganizes accordingly, because reality always responds to the identity you choose to sustain. Now that you understand how to truly communicate with the universe, the choice is in your hands. It isn't enough just to know, you must live this wisdom. Your frequency is your spiritual language, and every choice you make, every thought you nurture, every moment of silence you cultivate is a message sent to creation. The universe is listening, God is guiding, and you have the power to align your life with the highest version of yourself. From today onward, practice inner silence. Set your intentions consciously, visualize with faith, and above all, trust. Reinforce your new identity every day. Remind yourself of the truth. You are already in communication with the All. You just need to maintain the right vibration. If this message has touched you, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages like this. And write in the comments, "I trust in divine timing, and the universe is already responding." This is your affirmation of power. This is your starting point. You are already on the path.